When I think of Principia College, one of the first memories is this living room. We stood on those stairs. I was in Anderson West, which was a woman's dorm, but I thought this was the most magical place. I didn't know about Bernard Maybeck, but I fell in love with the kissing dogs, the door handles, this home. You know, I have great memories of the Mistake House and being cozy in there and writing English papers, a lot of memories of the chapel. I'd never heard so many people sing in one place, and the Sunday night chapels were magical. So I arrived at Principia in 1969, my freshman year, and I was here for 2 full years. And really, we ran out of money, and scholarships were not that plentiful in those days. And I drove to Tulsa with a friend thinking I'd never return. I went to the University of Tulsa, and it was much less expensive. But while I was there, I found a Rhodes Scholar who was a biblical scholar, and I took every class he had, and that's when I realized I really want to major in the Bible. And then I had a very dear friend from Principia, and he said, do you want to come up to Minneapolis for winter quarter? Because we're going to do something at the Mankato Experimental College, and we're going to get credit for it through Principia. And my mom and I sat down and thought, if I do this, which was very inexpensive in Minnesota, I can actually return to Principia for 3 more quarters if I take a double load and graduate early. And I'll be able to do that financially, and that's exactly what happened. So when I came back to Principia, I said I want to major in the Bible. And they said, oh honey, we don't have that, but you can do religion and philosophy. I said, I don't want religion and philosophy. Well, they had just decided to start the idea of special majors, and I was the first biblical studies major. So my post-Principia time was interesting because I was led to move to Dallas, Texas. I met a lady named Betty Graham who invented liquid paper, and she said, would you consider working for my company, Liquid Paper? There were 2 women in the country. I was the East Coast rep, and there was a woman who was based in LA. I moved to Washington, D.C. And my job was to teach secretaries how to make indelible corrections with liquid paper. And then I was led to work at the Mother Church. And again, in publishing, I worked for Jeffrey Barrett, who was an editor. I worked for the Christian Science Monitor, and they promoted me to National Advertising Director because I could sell. And then I left and I moved to the West Coast, and I ended up in the newspaper business for the next 15 years, starting business journals. I then decided I want to start biblical education for the people who are my clients. So Bible Roads, the name for the company, is a series of online courses. It's a lot of CDs for smart people who are biblically illiterate to understand a book that our entire civilization is built on and who did not have a spiritual foundation to fall back on. I don't care if they're male or female, churched, unchurched, de-churched, I don't care. I want them to have a relationship with God, and the Bible is the record of God through human history. How cool is that? Being an entrepreneur or working for somebody, it isn't easy, and in those years, it was particularly not easy for women. I remember so many times being in a conference room, I'd be the only female saying an idea, and nobody would even respond. And then some guy around the table would say the exact same idea, and they'd all go, Bruce, great idea. I didn't like being humanly pushy, but that seemed to be what was needed, was to create a voice at the table. Because I wanted to change the world, and I wanted to do it as a free woman. It never occurred to me women couldn't do what men did. And you just had to find your way through. And the only way I knew how to do any of it was through prayer because of the entrepreneurial. And I always thought Christian Scientists make the best entrepreneurs. You can always be at the leading edge because mind is telling you what to do. And there were so many new opportunities. All of that came through prayer. The male-female thing was a problem, but I remember the day that ended forever and realizing I'm not a mortal female. I don't have to take on all that victim stuff and all the junk that goes with the claims of being a young female in today's world. I was the first female in most of the roles I played in the business world. And I love that, but I mean, you have some hard knocks with that. And Principia was actually a great training ground for that, of sort of pushing the limits. You know, just because this is such a lovely award, the main thing I want to say is just how much I got out of Principia. And I think for somebody like me, who came from, you know, a high school, big public high school, I used to sit in the library crying after logic class because I didn't understand what they were talking about. And yet I got this incredible education here because people really saw in you what you couldn't see in yourself. That's what this place did. And I just think, man, they can do that with a kid like me. They can do that with anybody. It's just such a remarkable place.